Hey, hey, hey. Time for the Out of This World story from rSpace. Some people have sixth senses. Some have a gut feeling. And some have a cat. Today on rSpace, a feline furry friend who saw it all coming. Fiancée slept with her office daddy and planned to dump me. I collected all the evidence and blindsided her. I, 33 male, had been with Susan, 29 female, for 4 years. We met at a party and hit it off. It started as a fling, but things got dragged on. We got comfortable with each other, and before I knew it, we were living together and planning to buy a house in the suburbs. Last year, I took her to Vegas and put a ring on her finger. She was delighted, not surprised. Who won't see it coming after being together for 3 years? It was no less than perfect. We started planning for the spring wedding this year. I had a house cat, Tenzing, who's basically my kid. He doesn't bond with anyone randomly. With Susan, it was instant. He got so close to her that it was almost like I'd been replaced. He would curl on her lap, follow her into the kitchen, and sleep pressed up against her. I won't lie, I was a little jealous. My own cat chose her over me, but I also thought it was sweet. She loved him, he loved her, and that felt like family. Funny thing though, about 4 to 5 months ago, Tenzing suddenly flipped. He started avoiding her, coming back to me. He'd skip her lap for mine, sleep on my side of the bed, and give her this cautious, distant vibe. At the time, I joked that maybe he was moody, but looking back, perhaps that cat saw what I didn't. Around the same time, Susan told me she was up for a promotion at work. Management had her on a short list. That meant she had to put in more hours, take up additional projects, and prove herself. I didn't question it because I'm a workaholic too. I also put in extra hours and worked twice as much as my coworkers because of my outrageous ambition. However, my extra hours are always from home. Even if I have to work on weekends, it's always from my living room couch. I thought her grind would look the same, but hers started looking different. It started small. She stayed late at the office once in a while. No big deal. Then it was twice or thrice a week. Before long, it became her everyday thing. She was almost never home for dinner. Often, I'd get a text in the evening. "Don't wait, I'll have a working dinner." If I offered to bring her takeouts, she'd shut me down fast. "No, the security desk will be a hassle. I don't want to trouble you." If I offered to pick her up, she would give the same reason. "Please don't be troubled, hun. I'm an independent woman. I can handle." And she was independent and ambitious. Being a hardworking guy, I liked that quality of hers. The weekdays grinding was still fine, but her work took up the weekends too. Suddenly, she had to attend client meetings and conferences in the next town, always on Saturdays or Mondays, so she either left earlier or came back late. She had trips that didn't quite line up, but I didn't push. Despite everything, I trusted her. In the moment of doubt, I would say this to myself. Why would she say yes to the marriage if she had another plan? Soon, her phone became her best friend. It buzzed constantly, and no matter what she was doing, she'd snatch it up instantly. There were instances when she left the food on the dinner table and took the call in the other room until midnight. I had to put it back in the fridge. She would reason, "It's a global project. The team works at different time zones. I have to be available for them." If I complained, which I hardly did, she would tell me, "This promotion is crucial for me. The bonus will help me pay off my mortgage quickly. We can plan our future in a better way." I bought it. Who doesn't want to believe their fiancé is working hard for their future? Then, 2 weeks ago, it was a busy morning. She was getting ready for a 2-day work trip. She had put up an alarm for 5 a.m., but somehow it didn't ring, and she ended up sleeping through 6 a.m. Woke up when her coworker called to check if she had left home. She had a flight at 8:30. Airport is an hour drive in good traffic conditions. She jumped from the bed to change and left the phone on the bedside table. I asked if she needed help packing. She said no, the bags were already packed. She needed to stuff her toiletries and leave. I sat on the edge of the bed, waiting for her to get ready so I could say goodbye to her and go to the bathroom. A few minutes later, her phone buzzed and it flashed. Daddy. My gaze got fixated on the screen. She didn't have a father, lost him when she was young, was raised by a single mother. I tapped on the screen to see if it opened. It didn't, but there was a preview message. "Can't wait to eat yo... ... That's it. The message wasn't complete, but enough to tell a story. I put the phone back on the table stand. I was numb and too shocked to confront her. Was sweating when she came to say goodbye to me. She was too anxious to notice anything. She kissed me on the cheeks and rushed out. It took me several minutes to calm down. Once I was alone, I started scrambling for ways to discover the whole story. Where do I begin? How do I break into her system was the question. Then I remembered Susan wasn't creative with her passwords. I knew her patterns, her childhood dog's name plus her birth year, or her hometown plus her birth year. I tried the first one, and just like that, I was in her mailbox. I was worried she might get a notification that she had logged into a new device. She did get an email, but I immediately deleted it from the inbox. She was driving to the airport at the time, and I was praying that she didn't notice it. She didn't because I wasn't logged out or anything. I was very easily able to access her emails. What I saw, all that it contained, made my blood run cold. My worst nightmare came true. She was effing her boss. That daddy was him. Pages and pages of their explicit messages about nights in hotels, effing sessions disguised as conferences. She had been sleeping with him for the last 5 to 6 months, around the same time Tenzing distanced from her. It wasn't just a fling. She was planning her exit from our relationship. I found a document where she had written her whole plan. Pay off the student loan, 14 months. Exit, 15 to 16 months. Settle in Switzerland, 18 months. I put together all the puzzle pieces to understand her game plan. She had planned to gather as much money as possible to pay off her student loan and other mortgages. Then, secure her future and exit the marriage. We had multiple joint accounts, one for the wedding funds, one for the future house in the suburbs, one for retirement. Her plan was to divorce me after 2 years, claim alimony, and split the funds from the joint account equally, though her contribution was merely 30%. There was more to it. She and her boss were running a scam. There were emails from the bank about which I didn't know she had an account. I found bank transfers that routed money to intermediary accounts and then out to other accounts. Thousands of dollars were getting credited to that account several times a week. In the doc folder, I found an invoice template, and when I checked the history, I found that the template was used to create dozens of fake vendor invoices. It matched with the company's template for external spend, so they sailed through the finance queue. Budget approvals that might otherwise require a second or third sign-off got waved through because her daddy was the owner of the campaign. They split the reserve and shared trips billed to the company. The reason for expenditure was generic, like brand partnership fees, creative services, and event hospitality. The dollar amounts were not enormous on a single line, which made them easier to approve, but there were a lot of them spread across multiple projects and months. Those small approvals added up to real money. The trick was fragmentation. Instead of one suspicious $50,000 line, they had 10 $4,000 lines attached to different project codes. The numbers added up, small bits here, small bits there, until you hit that $95,000 figure that sat in the spreadsheet. And that wasn't even counting the endless restaurant and travel bills. The funny part was that they were using the company's money to fund their effing sessions. Their hotel stays and restaurant bills were labeled as client meetings. The email from the booking sites confirmed boss's name and hers. The same receipts, they cropped out their name and faked some random client's details and got reimbursed from the company. There were lines where she thanked him for clearing the budget, and he promised the promotion once Q4 shows cleaned books. She also thanked him for saving her from this marriage. Said she was with me only because she was hopeful that I would pay off her loans. Said, "He's ambitious, would make good money in the next 5 to 6 years. I thought to be patient until he buys a house and I claim it as alimony. Glad you found me earlier. I don't have to wait long. Once we secure enough money from here, I'll kick him out of my life." So, she wasn't working for the promotion at all. That was just an excuse to stay with her daddy. Her goal was to siphon money from the company and secure her future. Her boss was helping her achieve financial freedom, while effing her has a trade-off. We weren't married yet, so I could have just walked away, pack my things, take Tenzing, and leave. But I got a golden opportunity to avenge the betrayal. So, I collected every bit of it. Screenshots of emails, copies of invoices, receipts from hotels, bank transfers to fake vendors. I saved everything in folders organized by date. I made it airtight, so airtight that no one could deny it. I also got the details of where she was staying that weekend when she snuck out of her 100th work trip in 6 months. A part of me wanted to fly to wherever she was and catch her in the middle of the act. But why should I spend hundreds of dollars on the flight for a cheating behind? Instead, I planned my exit. I gave notice to the landlord for the updated lease, which would mention only Susan. Hunted for a new place over the weekend. Meanwhile, I remember one of Susan's coworkers, Mandy. I met her a year ago at their office party. She was ranting about their boss, that he favored women who bent for him. Said whoever rejected his advances had to face toxicity, severe criticism, and unrealistic deadlines. Some of the female employees in his team remained low-key and did not come to his attention, If he sets his eyes on anyone, either she benefits, if she says yes to him, or gets fired. I found her on social media, texted her that I wanted to talk to her regarding something very serious concerning their boss. She immediately responded saying she had changed teams as she could no longer put up with a toxic manager. I asked her for help, needed the email ID of the HR and all the management guys. Told her I have a gold mine which could expose the manager and his illegal activities. She gave it immediately without hesitation. I created a fake ID and drafted an anonymous email with all the details and evidence of the fraud and also their affair. I waited for the weekend to pass. Susan returned on Monday morning while I was having my breakfast. She came, hugged me, and went for a shower. I felt disgusted but didn't react. Then she got ready and said, "Have to rush to work. Have a high-stakes meeting." Kissed me on my cheeks and left. Almost an hour later, I hit the send button on the email draft. I remained in touch with Mandy. She kept me updated on the office drama. The mailing list she shared included everyone in the company. It was those kinds of lists which is used to blast company-wide updates. It was a Monday morning when people were logging into work and they found this at the top of their list. As soon as I hit send, I saw it was received, opened and read. I was continuously monitoring the analytics. Mandy informed that it created a panic-like situation in the HR and the management team. Susan and her boss were escorted to separate conference rooms by the HR team. People were peeping in through the glass to see what was happening inside. It was kind of fun for the spectators. People who have suffered under that manager were happy and cheered for the anonymous sender. Mandy was texting me continuously. "They pulled him into a meeting. Everyone's talking. HR locked the conference room. Legal's here." My screen filled with the kind of corporate panic you only see in movies. The finance team opened an internal audit as soon as the anonymous packet hit their inbox, and the evidence matched internal flags. I had sent organized evidence that any layman would have understood. It was a no-brainer for the legal, finance, and compliance team to process. People were scanning every detail of the mail I had sent. It wasn't a secret anymore. The dates, account numbers, vendor IDs, and approval chains, every detail was in everyone's inbox. Everyone knew what was happening. Mandy told me that many women in the past had accused him of workplace harassment. The committee was set up, but no action was taken against the manager. He was never fully investigated because he was valuable to the management. He was let go freely while the complaints were somehow fired, citing performance issues. The boss thought himself untouchable. He hadn't expected the paperwork to be checked this closely. He was a nephew of a board member and brought huge chunks of business for the company. The ones who complied with him took their shares and left. After all, how long can you exploit your body for money? The manager thrived on this method. Pick their vulnerable one and trade off their body for money. I'm not defending Susan that she was vulnerable. Maybe she offered herself in exchange for financial gains. It takes two to F. If she felt trapped, she should have informed me. She could have left the job. I would have supported her, taken care of her needs. There were so many times when I paid her car mortgage and her student loan because her salary dried up in shopping and she maxed out her card limit. But no, she chose to cheat and betray me. IT was called in to seize machines for forensic imaging. HR team members stood at the doorway while IT boxed up the laptops and phones. They were escorted out by security. They were asked not to meet or talk to anybody. It goes without saying that they won't. After such severe humiliation, they don't have the guts to face anyone. Mandy told me a sinkhole of whispers opened across the company's Slack. People formed groups to gossip, even went out for drinks to celebrate a fair partner's downfall. I didn't gloat publicly. There was no need. The spectacle at his office did that for me. I prepared for what would happen the next at home. After I sent the email, I immediately pulled out my share. Not 50%, but the exact money I had put in from all the joint accounts. That was my money, and there was no way I can let her have it. I also packed my suitcase, booked a motel until I got a new apartment, and waited for her to return after the walk of shame at work. She walked in that night looking like someone who'd been hollowed out. Her hair was a mess, suit jacket was rumpled, makeup streaked under her eyes. She dropped her bag and hugged me with shaky hands, broke down and howled. "Someone framed me. They tipped off the management that I was involved in financial fraud. Please help me. Hire a lawyer. They've seized my laptop and my phone and also frozen my bank account." She was in panic and desperate. I watched her for a very long beat. Then, with a calm face, replied, "Why don't you ask Daddy to bail you out?" "Oh, my bad. He's in hot soup too." The words landed like a stone. She froze and then screamed, "You did this? You sent it? Tell me you did this." Her hands were on a trembling edge now. I let her vent out, let her claim the thing she wanted to believe most. I just smirked and pulled an envelope from the table. It was the updated lease I'd received from the landlord that evening. I slid it toward her and said, "For the next month, the rent's on you." I watched the color drain from her face again. She called me names, all names under the sun. I stood up, picked up the suitcase I'd packed, and started putting the last things into it. Tenzing rubbed against my leg and then jumped into the suitcase like he understood the gravity of the moment. Susan suddenly got frantic and begged, "Please help me. I can even hire a lawyer." I didn't say anything and started walking out. She yelled, "You created a mess. You clean it. Hire legal for me." I stopped and said, "Yeah, by the way, I have pulled out my share from all the joint accounts we had. If they don't lock that account, maybe you can use your share of a few dollars to hire legal." She was astonished. "How can you withdraw that money from the account without my consent? I deserve half the money." She threatened to call the cops on me. I almost laughed and said, "Sue me." I checked into the motel and slept like a baby. The next day, I woke up to a call from her mother, begging me to help Susan out. She said she was trapped by her boss, was blackmailed and threatened, claimed that she didn't do it out of lust but fear of losing her job, that it was very unmanly for me to throw Susan under the bus, but I have a chance of repentance and step up as a man and do the right thing. I should help her out and support her. I just laughed at her outrageous demand and said, "Use this trick somewhere else. I'm not falling for it." Susan was obviously fired. They didn't press fraud charges on her because she conveniently laid the blame on a affair partner that he blackmailed her to do it. Affair partner had a long reputation of such things, so it was easy for the committee to believe Susan's story. Affair partner was charged with fraud charges as well as POSH. Mandy said after he was thrown out of the company, no one knew what he was doing. He didn't have a family. His wife had divorced him long ago, and since then, he had been satisfying himself with the office workers. Susan vacated the apartment because she couldn't afford the rent alone. I got the message from the landlord if I wanted it back. I said no. Next, I canceled all the bookings I had made for the wedding. The venue was where I had incurred a loss. They deducted 30% of the advance money, and I got the full refund for the catering and decorations. I informed my parents, friends, and family about it, and everyone congratulated me for dodging a bullet. The invite was yet to go, but people knew the dates. I just thank my luck that I got saved just in the right time. The wedding was scheduled to be this weekend, and the truth came out exactly 45 days before the big day. If we had gotten married, she would have taken half my assets, my hard-earned money. Holy crap, this is effing terrifying. I love that Tenzing, your cat, basically gave you the first warning. Cats are basically tiny, judgmental therapists with paws. And he clearly knew something was off before you did. She planned to scam, seduce, and exit with your cash while smiling in your face, and she thought she was clever. Please, the universe, and Tenzing, weren't having it. She ran a months-long affair with her boss while siphoning company money, faked invoices, tracked her exit strategy in a spreadsheet, and acted like the perfect fiancé the whole time. That's sociopathic. She's insanely dangerous, next-level crazy, and you got to walk away while she's self-destructed. Stay safe out there, OP. Have you ever had a furry friend give you the side eye at someone you were dating and later realized they were completely right? Share your stories with us in the comments below. And thank you for joining us today on rSpace. Be sure to like and subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on our next video. Until next time.